Welcome back to the Jonestead. I'm Mary. Today is Wednesday, May 6, 2026. And Yahoo News reported this morning that Kevin O'Leary's massive Utah data center approved despite furious protests over water, power, and the environment. The project, known as Stratos, was unanimously approved Monday night by the three-member Box Elder County Commission, after officials delayed the decision for a week amid growing backlash from residents and environmental groups. This data center is enormous. It is 40,000 square acres, which is the equivalent of 10 Walmart supercenters. So that is huge. And square acre energy and hyperscale AI data center campus. It's in Hansel Valley, north of the Great Salt Lake. Residents are very concerned about Utah's already strained water resources and fragile ecosystem around the Great Salt Lake. Many residents believe the project is moving forward too quickly without enough public scrutiny and environmental review or transparency. And I, for one, think that these concerns are absolutely warranted. And I found interesting in doing some research on this is a big influence in the development there is an unelected board called the Utah Military Installation Development Authority, also referred to as MITA or MITA, I'm not sure how they pronounce it. This authority has a mission of supporting military efforts, but has greatly expanded its portfolio over the years. It's provided funding for the new inn at Sundance. It's helping develop the 6,000 acre East Village at Deer Valley Ski Resort also. This authority has grown more powerful in recent years, and in 2024, their General Assembly passed a bill allowing the authority to levy an additional resort sales tax when the capacity for visitors is at least 2/3 of a city or town population. So, and the reason they were involved in this project is because the area would include a section of the military's Utah Test and Training Range, plus Hill Air Force Base, its Falcon Hill Research Park. On May, this MITA board gave the green light to O'Leary's massive data center. And so you have a very powerful group of people. This is a very powerful board. I believe it was started in 2007, if I remember correctly. Unelected, but they voted on this, and I don't know if their meetings are public or not. I wouldn't be surprised if they meet behind closed doors. I don't know, but they are unelected, so they're not accountable to anybody other than what they're deciding to vote on. And so they put a green light on this, I believe it was, trying to remember, on May 1st, they voted for it to move this massive project along. And then that is what the commission was voting on yesterday to authorize their authority, their vote on moving this project forward. And I watched some of the videos from the public hearing, and the commissioners were unbelievably arrogant. They were sneering at the citizens. And granted, there were a lot of people there, and they were being very vocal. However, these commissioners, just the three of them, were just completely, unbelievably rude. One, the chin on the hand, just not wanting to hear any of it. And in fact, what they did was they ended up just leaving the room where the public was that supposedly elected them, and they conducted their meeting in another room and apparently provided a video of them. So I'm not sure what the public hearing rules are in this area as far as allowing the public to speak, whether it's a limited amount of time. There's a 30-minute window and only so many people can speak. I'm not sure, but they showed a complete disregard for the citizens. And again, I think these citizens, I think they have valid concerns about not having all the information. I'm reading some of the articles, and there's a lot of deep loose ends with this project that, they're O'Leary's telling a very pretty, glossy, shiny version of this project. And oh, it's not going to impact the environment, it's going to produce jobs, so on and so forth. But these, if you dig in, the staff is saying they still will be, even at this point, they expect there will be more requests for water withdrawals, for water usage. Also, this project will be pulling in using natural gas resources, and not to mention the other environmental impacts. So, this is a massive project and these have been popping up all over the country without a lot of fanfare, with seemingly little regard for the environmental impacts, which is, I find, really interesting, because when I served on the Board of Supervisors here, every single project, there was so much scrutiny put in as far as the impacts, traffic impacts, the water impacts, the environmental impacts, the impervious cover, so on and so forth. Water is always a big issue because making sure that we're not drawing too much out of the aquifer. And so to all of a sudden see these huge projects just kind of fast-tracked, to me is very surprising. And of course, Virginia is the data center capital of the world, and they are continuing to build more and more. But the good news is it really seems that people are starting to wake up to this, and they're starting to become more vocal. And with numbers, that helps, because I know early on when I did some videos on this, or even talked about it on Facebook, the pushback I would get, and you have a lot of these AI bots that they jump in immediately and they have their talking points, or people would be like, oh, I love it when people criticize data centers while they're posting about it on Facebook, which uses a data center. And I'm always like, I started Facebook in 2009. And honestly, if the impacts are the impacts are going to be that significant to our environment, and just the size and scope and scale of these buildings, I can live without Facebook, and I honestly could live without all this AI. But that's just me, and that's my opinion on it. And I have a lot of questions. But again, as I was saying, more and more people are starting to speak up and push back and get ahead of these projects. And an example of that is last night, nearly 200 residents from Gardner, Johnson, Miami, and Franklin counties gathered to voice opposition to a proposed data center before the Gardner City Council has had a chance to act on it. And so that's been helpful. In fact, the developer has agreed to do a public session to get feedback from the public. Hopefully you have representation that is not being so bullied or just being encouraged to vote for these projects because how it might benefit them. And these companies can be very intimidating. I know there was a council member up in Northern Virginia, and because she was meeting with constituents that were concerned about a proposal, this applicant was suing her and publicly intimidating her. So there's a lot of pressure on them. But my experience also, a lot of elected officials are they do what the popular thing is, and show me the money. But anyway, also in Florida, a businessman has suspended plans to build a 700-acre data center in Camden County, Georgia. The move follows a formal request from the Navy to halt the project, citing threats to local water security, grid stability, and mission-critical operations at Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay. And then additionally, I've seen Erin Brockovich is getting involved in helping people oppose, and she's putting together a nationwide map identifying all the existing data centers, but also proposed data centers, so people are able to get their hands on that information as well. And again, I'm seeing it also more in Virginia. And I just see these data centers as we're just building this entire control grid, and the citizens are gonna suffer. And it is, and in order for them to implement the central bank digital currency, social currency, and so forth. And so I have a lot of concerns about it. I have a lot of concerns about its involvement with the surveillance state, but and all the details, but really the impacts on the environment. You read, so I'll link a video I did a couple months ago about it with some specifics on where people had the data center built and it sucked their well dry, and now their property is worth zero, and it was their dream home. So I really think we need to take a step back. There's this just, and I know you've got all these mega billionaires are funding all this stuff, but you get enough people vocal, and I think it's important for them to be able to answer these questions and not just plow ahead and say, oh, it's going to be great, whatever, look what you can do on Facebook, or all this AI technology. And I think we need to kind of take a step back and look at the humanity and our environment and the quality of our lives. So anyway, I thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and have a great day. Look forward to talking to you again soon.